Hey, welcome back. This is Angela Damiani with Milwaukee, and we are about to jump into another episode of Making New Possible. Today on the program, I have Tony Lorino, the CEO of Throwback Brands, coming on board to talk about all things radio industry with me, where the industry is going, how he has built an incredible organization that streams 80s and 90s hits, throwback era style music with real human connection on over 40 radio stations around the country. He is absolutely incredible, super dynamic. I think there's a lot we could all learn from his experience. And so I'm excited for you guys to hear from him. Thank you so much, Tony, for joining the program.
Hey, Angela, great to see you.
I'm so excited to have you on the program.
It's an honor to be here. Always fun to talk shop and talk stories and share how we learn about how each other ticks and hopefully walk away with some good advice for everybody that we can all learn from.
Well, you know, the theme of this podcast is how to make new possible. And I have not had anyone that's from kind of the radio world before. So I'm kind of excited for you to talk to us about, this like amazing legacy. And what's new in radio as you see it. So
when you say legacy, are you referring to my gray hair coming in fast and furious, or are you calling me old? Because when someone has a legacy, it means they're old, Angela.
I was a journalism major 25 years ago. And I remember, learning all about this. I don't know, you have made a whole career of it. You've, worn nearly every single hat in radio: producer, host, program director, brand consultant. I guess I just want to hear, was there an early moment that you'd realized you didn't want to follow the traditional radio playbook? And, what's your perspective on that in general?
I think it's funny you mentioned the journalism background. I will say there was a moment where I decided I didn't want to follow the journalism path, and I was going to school for journalism, for broadcast journalism and TV news. And funny enough, I was going to school at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. And my summer after my freshman year, I really wanted to get an internship because, get an internship, And at the time, none of the TV stations here in Milwaukee, 4, 6, 12, 58, would hire you until you were a junior standing, and I was going to only be a sophomore. And in school, so you had to be, I was going to be a sophomore, but they wouldn't take you on as an intern until you were a little further along. And so I took a radio internship at the old WKTI here in Milwaukee, 94.5, and fell in love with it. I always loved music, and I always loved history and pop culture, and it all just kind of came together. And so that was in the summer of 2000, and ever since then, I've been in love with this medium. And I think the thing about it is it's a changing medium. Radio is not just music, it's not just talk. There are so many components of it. There's creative writing, there's marketing, there's the music part of it, there's the content spoken word part of it, and they all come together in a really fun way for me personally. But I think there's new tentacles as radio continues to expand its way into multimedia. And that's stuff we've been learning for a long time. You're not just going to be a newspaper reporter anymore. You're not just going to be a news anchor. You're not going to sit behind a desk. You're going to be out there shooting video on, this thing now. And it's going to end up on the newscast or whatever. It's going to be all those things. And that's going to be a good thing. So, and I think, it's become so much easier. I mean, when you and I were probably first going to school, or if you were doing TV, it's like you were learning how to adjust your lighting and,
Yes.
a white balance on a camera. I can't
Well,
tell
I mean,
you
I
the
think it's so funny because I ended up going down the PR path. I think I took a J101 class, and I was like, no, this isn't, I can't do this. But there wasn't even social media. Like, we didn't, Like, that was like that just so long ago. There was nothing to teach us about that because it didn't even exist. You know what I mean? And the whole world has changed the last, 25 years with that.
It's changed marketing, it's changed advertising, it's changed branding, it's changed how we interact as a species. Now, and now AI is next. So we got a lot to learn, but there's a lot of good that still comes from traditional media. There are a lot of things that we can take from traditional media, amplify, adapt, and grow into new channels. So that's what's exciting.
Well, I feel like having read your background, and seeing what, the type of things you produce, you talk a lot about serving the audience first.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in this context of what we're talking about, changing a media landscape, you think, serving your audience is more important or the best way to ratings and revenue? Do you think that idea feels radical?
Antiquated?
You know what I mean? I don't know, like in this moment of where it feels like everything is new and we're reshuffling the deck, you know what I mean?
What a concept. We're going to find an audience and make them happy. Woo!
Right.
No, it's absolutely the way to success. And anybody who tells you otherwise, if you chase dollars before you chase the audience and understand what they like and understand what their needs are and understand where the opportunity is, it's not going to work out for you. It just doesn't. I mean, time and time again. Success leaves clues. And people who are focused on, you can look around at successful businesses, you can look around at successful people. It doesn't matter the industry. Radio is one place to look, but you can look at successful media, you can look at successful restaurants, you can look at successful trucking companies, and they're all leaving clues along the way of, hey, we're going to build our business this way. We're going to solve this problem. And for consumers of radio, the problem is, in traditional radio, you're stuck in your car. You got a 20-minute drive because everybody drives, it seems, about 20 minutes to get from work to home to kids pick up to this. You're driving somewhere in Milwaukee, especially, and you want to occupy that space in between your ears. And we're going to play some good tunes. We're going to have a little fun while we do it. That's a really simple way of looking at radio. But it's more than that. It's building out experiences for your consumer that they're going to relate to. For our audience, in my syndicated show and at B97.3, where I host the afternoon show, we're talking to 30 and 40 somethings. They're busy, they're time starved, they are in their acquisition stages of life.
Right.
They got a lot going on.
I would say that all the trains have left the station. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they can't catch they can't catch any one of the trains. You miss one of the trains that leaves the station at the wrong time, and the whole set of trains for the whole week is screwed up. But what you have to understand who you're talking to and how you relate to them and what you bring home, what you weave into your content, the kind of music they like, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for is just as important as what they are. I could, for example, you're never going to hear me talk politics on any of the content I put out.
Interesting.
I have lots of opinions.
Yeah.
But that's not what we do.
I'm kind of proud of you for that. I feel like that's sort of the clickbaity, you know what I mean? Like moment that we're in, to have a hot take on some political thing that's happening in the world.
I have lots of hot takes. Some are mild, some are hot. But I have lots of takes. But you know what? Our audience is coming to us to have a little relief from that. And
I like that. I like that as a differentiator for you.
Yeah, when you eat something spicy, when you go out for a really good Mexican dinner, you want some sour cream. We're sour cream. I am sour cream.
That's
Look
your
at
new
me.
tagline. Look at us workshopping in here. That's perfect. Everyone will love it. Yeah, exactly.
So.
All right. Well, so you have scaled Throwback Nation Radio to 40 plus stations. That's no small feat. I want to hear, what were the biggest skeptics wrong about? Or what were things that you were hearing in the early days that you've proven wrong?
First and foremost, I think you've got to know where your target is. And that's one of the things that, like we just talked about, who is the consumer? So Throwback Nation, which is our first show of the 3 on Throwback Brands, I launched in the fall of 2018 on 3 radio stations. Never forget them. Thank you, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Thank you, Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you, Kauai, Hawaii. And
those are such random places.
Exactly. But I made those connections through relationships. Radio is a relationship business. Every business is a relationship business. Every business is not just who you know, but who you knows what you're capable of. And when I launched this, I said, I think there's an opportunity here to provide, like I said, okay, we're going to be a show that gives relief, but we're not going to be sleepy. We're not going to do love songs. There's plenty of shows that do that really well. We're not going to be what I call traditional oldies, where you're focused on, the music and eras of maybe our parents, but we're going to focus on the 80s and 90s, and where adults that were, this was 8 years ago, but were in their 30s and 40s, but where they were finding their generation of nostalgia. And that's what we're focused on. And I had someone tell me, throwback, that sounds like throw up.
What?
Well, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, right? I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do that anyway. And so there are lots of people that don't necessarily agree with your vision. That person happened to be quite a bit older than me.
Oh, well, they weren't in your target audience, so yeah.
No, they weren't. But their station in that particular market was. And I think that person has since moved on from the industry. You have to watch where the ball is bouncing. You have to be aware of where the ball is bouncing. I remember you just alluded to social media a little bit ago, Angela. I remember I was talking to a colleague of mine in I want to say it was 2009, 10, somewhere in that period. And we were talking about how are we going to use social media for the radio station? Oh, we would do contests and, post this image in your profile picture and you could win tickets to this or that or whatever. And we did all sorts of stuff, and it wasn't really within the Facebook rules at the time, but it was the Wild West, and there were no rules at the time. We're a little bit right now there with AI as well, I believe, where the Wild West is what the Wild West is. And what we learned was through that whole time is, okay, social media is going to be a thing. You have to bounce there. Where the ball is bouncing, because now, how many situations have occurred in life because someone posted something or because of this, and how many times do you talk about that with a friend? Oh, did you see their post? And it was so vague looking, and whatever, or whatever. So that understanding where the ball is bouncing is a lot of it, and then being able to tell your story quickly, concisely. I don't love the term elevator pitch because it sounds so old school, but understanding what you are, who you're targeting and who you're not, and being able to convey that to people clearly. Hey, we're a show that plays 80s and 90s music. We're on it at the nighttime and we have fun, and we don't present it in a way that's old. We talk about it in the here and now, because so much of that is pop culture. We say throwback culture is pop culture. Look around. Stranger Things, Hannah Montana doing a 20th anniversary.
Even the fact that, my kids watch Fuller House and I watched Full House. You know what I mean? It's like, this show is just as annoying as it was in the 90s or whatever. But there is something about, Uncle Jesse coming on camera that I'm still like swooning over.
There's a rare condition this day and age to hear any, oh, wait, no, that's Family Matters. Sorry, wrong theme song. To hear any good news on the newspaper page. Love and tradition of the grand design. No, Full House. I can't even remember the Full House theme or the Full House theme.
Whatever happened to
Milkman, the Paperboy, and evening TV. Well, guess what? We're not the Milkman and the Paperboy anymore, but we're still watching the same characters and the same silly storylines. So here we are and reliving it again.
Okay, so you touched on this just briefly. Let's get into the AI of it, right? Like, it's an era of automation. AI-driven playlists exist. What does human connection mean in radio? Like, how do you even do that? And how do you, and why? When, like, I don't know, maybe the robots could do this for us?
There are AI radio stations, and there are AI voices on terrestrial radio stations. The robots can do a lot of things. What robots can't do is what we're doing right now, and that's having a conversation between two people. Right here, right behind me, up there, you can't see it, but it's just off camera. That's the phone. It comes into my studio, and people call.
No, people still call in the radio?
People still call. People still call.
Wow.
And I have real meaningful conversations. And we have some that involve contests and prizes and that sort of stuff, right? But like, we have real meaningful conversations. I was just talking to a guy about how much he loved Red Hot Chili Peppers the other night. And we were catching up on all, he's like, the Blood Sugar Sex Magic and Californication. And I'm like, he's listing off all the songs on the album. I'm like, Don't apply for my job, you know more than me. But and then I was talking to a guy, and the other night he said, yeah, I was served in the armed forces. I said, what division? And he said, in the Navy, just like he was going to bust right into the song. And I'm like, and how does that that song make you feel? He says, I hear every time I cringe. And I said, thank you for your service. I do too. So, it's human connection.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
What I'm going to say is that, so I have a business that's based on in-person experiences, so I'm very biased. But I think that we still need, humans need to be together. Yes, technically the robots can generate content for us, and maybe there are ways in which that makes some of our lives more automated and easy, but I don't know. I feel like we're wired. We've only had AI for the last 3 or 4 years, even though machine learning has been around, for a couple of decades. It's only really been accessible to the masses in this short period of time. For millennia before that, as a human species, we needed to be together. We needed to make eye contact. We need to communicate. You know what I mean? We just haven't. That is a thing that's what makes us human. You know what I mean?
How are we supposed to keep the species going if we don't communicate?
Exactly.
Because I think before, this is going to sound real low level, but before babies are born, maybe we should talk, and get to know each other and go on dates and whatever, I'm a happily married man. I'm not looking to go out on dates or anything like that, but you know what I mean? It's this is human nature. We have to be able to learn how to communicate with each other. Yeah. And if we don't, we're going to have a lot of trouble because this can't be, and I've even, my kids are younger. My kids are still in elementary school, but you talk to friends of mine whose kids are in high school or starting to go into college, and they're like, the social awkwardity, I think
totally.
We need to work on that. Everybody needs to get to know how to relate and how to be able to have conversations with each other like humans, not over text, not over some sort of Snapchat or instant message or anything like that. It's we got to talk. We got to talk about our feelings. We are emotional human beings. We got to talk about our feelings. We got to talk about all that sort of stuff. As much as us guys never want to talk about our feelings, deep down we do.
You need to. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go out and just claim it. You obviously are an innovator in this space.
Oh, it's nice of you to say. You called me an innovator, and you called me, what was it earlier that you called me that made me sound old?
I don't know. Oh, legacy. But
legacy.
You have a legacy. No, both can be true. You can have a strong legacy and be an innovator. I'm just going to put that out there. Yeah. I want to know, sometimes it can feel lonely. You know what I mean? You're ahead of the curve and maybe not yet validated. Tell me about, this is about making new possible. That's what we're exploring on this show. But sometimes when you have an inkling for something and other people don't get it yet, when it was just the 3 stations that bought in at first, how do you get over that? How do you move past that? You know what I mean? How have you faced that in the past?
You don't get to great without starting at good.
Okay.
You don't get to be the best without working toward better. And my goal was always to have the best sounding, locally targeted national show, right?
Best sounding, locally targeted national show.
That's a lot of things.
Very specific, though. I appreciate the vision. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to have this national show, but that had integration of the local radio station and all these things. So there was a lot of technology involved in that. And even 8 years ago, it wasn't there. One thing is, I think you need to ask for feedback. Those first, I remember there was a friend of mine at the time. He was running a group of stations in Madison, and we had been very close for a long time. As I had run radio stations, we were in the same company. And I brought him the first demos and the first, hey, this is what it's going to sound like. And he's like, it's good. I don't need it right now. I'm not ready for it right now, blah, blah, blah. And I felt a little bit put off. But he had given me a couple things to work on, and I didn't know exactly how to fix them at that point. I think it's the idea of being curious. I think Ted Lasso said that too. So I was curious, how am I going to get here? Okay, if I want to do this specific thing to add this part to make the show customized for Madison, Wisconsin, for example.
Sure.
How am I going to do that? Well, you keep asking around. You start with where you're at. You got to plant your feet somewhere, and sometimes you got to dive into the pool. And even if you're doggy paddling and you're in the pool. And then you get coached. You ask for feedback. You ask your peers. You ask your mentors. You ask people in the business. You ask them outside of the business. You learn about, you keep that growth mindset going. And sooner or later, opportunities present themselves. One of the biggest for me, I'll tell you, was I met another group of innovators. And it's a company that was based in Germany called Radio Cloud, which was a cloud-based radio distribution recording system, where rather than having all radio nowadays, nobody's playing CDs anymore or anything like that.
Sure. You're not actually disc jockeying. Yeah.
No. We're on, we've got wave files, high quality audio files that are playing out of incredibly high-powered computer systems. But as time has gone on, those incredibly high-powered computer systems have gone from, walls of servers to the system that I have is a relatively normal computer. It's just a computer. Now we're doing that in the cloud. And what that did for us, it was able to use technology with AWS, Amazon Web Services, and it was able to put, again, understanding automation, learning, finding like-minded people taught me I could find solutions to my problems. So the thing that I would say, this is a long way to answer your question, Angela, but was find like-minded people. Find more people that want to problem solve.
Yeah.
I wanted to do 80s and 90s music. Doesn't matter if you want to do 80s and 90s music. You might find someone from Germany who's already trying some stuff there and has perfected how to make it work and bring that into the fold. That was a big part of it. Finding people who share your passions. Find people who are going to encourage you. Even when you're having a crummy day, look for that circle of friends. Build that circle of friends who are going to encourage you through it. And also sometimes tell you that your stuff stinks. Don't stink. No, tell you want to surround yourself with people that are going to tell you that your stuff stinks in a kind way. But hey, why don't you tune this up? Try this. I don't know about this, but hey, you're on the right track. And just continue to look for those encouraging voices in your life, whether it's professional or it's personal. I can't say enough thanks to my wife. She's been here through this whole thing, watching me pull my hair out and, build radio stations in our basement, basically. But it's been a learning process, but she's been incredibly encouraging and supportive the whole way.
I love that. Well, in some ways you've already answered this question, but I want to ask it anyway, because I think you have something important to say, which is, it is a shifting landscape. There's, if you're working in the industry, you're navigating acquisitions or rebrands or honestly kind of some uncertainty. For a younger media professional, what advice do you have to give them, to sort of make it through, but not lose your voice? I mean, you're standing on a couple decades of experience and some success. So, in some ways it's not easy. I'm not trying to diminish all the hard work you've put in, but it is a little easier for you. If you're starting out and you're still passionate about going into this space, it does feel really dynamic. What advice do you give for someone who's just getting started?
Great question. If anybody could actually pinpoint the exact right nugget of this, well, they would have figured it all out, and nobody's exactly there.
Right.
2 or 3 things I would say. One, follow your passion. When you follow your passion, in passion there is abundance. And maybe it's not abundance in your bank account, but maybe it's an abundance of joy. It's stuff that makes you happy.
Yeah.
And it's okay if sometimes, I was talking to someone earlier today, very talented on-air radio host in Chicago, and there were changes, and unfortunately he was on the outside of those changes, and he's now looking for new opportunities. Not because he was bad at what he did. It's not because he wasn't following the rules or that he wasn't a team player and wasn't doing well. It's just there are only so many chairs. Things change, formats change, they switch some people, and that's that. And, you know, he was talking about, well, you know, I know social media so well, I'm getting offers that were even more than my radio job. And I said, well, maybe you should just take the offer. And if you want to play in this for fun, play.
Yeah.
But all these skills, if you can learn to write well, if you can learn to communicate, if you can learn how to strategize, you can do anything you choose.
Yeah. And I imagine also move quickly in a live situation. You know what I mean? I know some, obviously things are recorded, but I feel like being able to be dynamic and responsive to the moment, you know, it goes back to that sort of like critique maybe you were making of Gen Z or Alpha. You know what I mean? Like being a screen-based childhood means that they don't have the same kind of dynamic, you know what I mean, between individuals.
You've got to be able to sense things about people. I mean, I've had guests on shows, and there was one time, when I was producing the morning show with Jane McNair and Kid O'Shea, and we had, I won't name, but we had a comedian. We were doing our show on location, and we had a comedian come out with us. And this comedian was more raucous than we needed at the moment.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a live, you know what I mean, format.
Yeah, it's someone who you may know.
Okay.
And we were going to go 2 segments. We were going to do this. We were going to do that. And it was like, I'm looking at them, they're looking at me, and we're
no, it's not happening. We're changing.
Thanks for coming. They're at the Riverside or the Pabst or whatever. And it wasn't that they were bad. It was just, whoa, I don't know if they had maybe had too much fun the night before, or maybe had a little...
Yeah, and you have to pivot in the moment.
We had to pivot at the moment. We had to pivot at the moment, being quick on your feet, and being a problem solver. Knowing that, you know, problems are going to arise quick. You just got to move. Sometimes you got to, you know, toss. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back. You know, that sort of thing. You always see that on TV, and it happens in the moment, or on the radio. Those things happen. You got to be able to move on your feet.
Yeah. Well, my last question for you is sort of harkens us back to the title of this show, which is Making New Possible. I want to know, for you, what have you made new that wasn't possible before in this moment? Or what are you looking forward to making possible in the near-term future for you?
I think the concept, so I'm in my home studio down here. This is studio grade and professional audio equipment. When I first started my first home studio, when we were living in Atlanta, which was 8 years ago, it was a little bit more basic. It was nice and it was good, but it was very cost prohibitive to go.
Oh yeah, you had to go. I mean, I honestly, we had a podcast way back in the day with WTMJ, and we had to go in studio. There was no way we would have been able to do this. I'm just at my office now. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was not possible.
It was not possible. Technology is making it easier. I'm on a camera right here with a teleprompter on it in my home studio with 3 studio lights here, here, and here, so that if I got a call from CNN tomorrow and they said, we need an expert on 90s music, I could be here, right now. This is a lavalier microphone. You know, I don't have to talk into the big one back here. You know, the cost of technology has come down, and that's a good thing. I mean, just the concept again. This is shooting our video. This is taking care. This can record audio. This can take the pictures. This can post to the blog or to the website. It can send the article to the editor to be in the newspaper for tomorrow. It can get the video to the TV station through the transmitter, or it can go live on social media, and you're broadcasting to the world. We are in an instantaneous world now, and I think that's really cool. And even like, you know, one of our hosts, Chris Cruz on Throwback 2K, he's in Detroit. Joe Cortez, Retro Pop Reunion, is in Boston. The other hosts that I work with at iHeartMedia, there are people all over the country. We could host a podcast, and we could do a TV show from our basements right here, like you and I are
Right.
doing, Angela, and never have to be in the same place.
Isn't that
Because
amazing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that the technology has come so far in such a short period of time. And really, it was, if there's one thing that leaving my job, being a program director in Atlanta, I didn't want to go. It was not my own choice to leave that job. But that was in April of 2018. It forced me to build the home studio experience and learn how to, use
And
things
figure it
like
out. Yeah.
Zoom and all that 2 years before the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I was, and do radio shows for my home studio. And that was a real blessing for me because I was able to learn, grow, adapt, get better. And then 2 years later, when COVID hit and we all had to move to remote work,
You were already ready. I mean, it was like nothing for you, I'm sure.
No,
Yeah.
I was
You had it sorted. The whole rest of it, all of us were freaking out. Like, how am I going to do work from my house? I know. And you were already settled.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
all
so
good.
cool.
All good.
Well, Tony, this is so great. Thank you so much for sharing and coming on. I really appreciate it and letting me pick your brain about this. I just think what you're doing is so cool, and I'm so excited for where you're going next. This is like really, really amazing what you've built.
New is exciting. Milwaukee is exciting. You have so many talented people in the organization. If I could give you one piece of advice, if someone's watching this and they want to create, they want to learn, dive into that pool. And if you doggy paddle a little bit at first, that's okay. You're going to learn how to swim. And before you know it, you're going to be running laps and having a blast. But follow that passion, because when you follow that passion, the rest becomes pretty easy.
That's perfect. What a great way to end. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela.
Wonderful.